presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and powered by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Welcome to the podcast, where former San Antonio police officer, author, and pastor Tim Rupp walks you through real-life scenarios involving our police officers and digs into the depths of facts and opinions on each case. This is Cop Talk, and it starts now.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Strong Blue Line's Cop Talk. I'm Tim Rupp in the Rev.FM studio in Idaho Falls, Idaho. And here we are, Gary.
Yep.
It's almost Christmas time, man. You know what I'm looking forward to?
Christmas.
Yes, but before Christmas even gets here, we will have Carrie's Christmas candy.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, man. I know she's been cooking. She's been working on this. How long does I know she's always throughout the year. I mean, she's not preparing it, but I know her eyes, she'll catch something. She'll say, hey, this is cool. This is interesting. Yeah. She'll start kind of making them plans. But when is go day when she starts she starts, does it take 2-3 days, a week? What?
It's like the beginning of December.
Okay.
When she's like.
So after Thanksgiving, then it's like, okay.
All planning, yep.
She's in now.
Yeah.
She's all in. It's like, stay out of the kitchen.
It is interesting how, because in my mind, I've always thought, well, a day or the day before, you make all these candies and, but there are some candies that are best set up. Like,
it's like soup.
They need to set up, right?
Soup. Generally, soup is better the next day.
Exactly.
A lot of foods you don't want the next day.
No.
Fish tacos.
No.
Eat them fresh.
No, fresh is better.
Fresh is better. But with soups, a lot of times it blends and stuff. And so candies are the same way.
Yeah, because it's been hot, so they need to cool. And so it's some of her candies are like 4 days, in the fridge. And then she'll cut them and then, do whatever she does with them.
And you got to be careful in the fridge.
Yeah.
My wife, she was telling me we were eating something. We went somewhere recently to a thing where people had brought candies and stuff, and she tasted. She says, she goes, I taste some onion in this. It's because it was kept in the refrigerator with onions.
That's exactly right.
And so you got to be careful what's in there.
Yeah.
So this is like a public service announcement. So if you get candy for Christmas and you get pies and stuff, be careful what's in your refrigerator because it may taste like onions.
Right. So true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, we just have all kinds of information on the Strong Blue Line.
Yeah, we do.
Cop Talk.
Love it.
Anyways, and you would think we'd be talking about donuts on Cop Talk, but no, we're talking about Carrie's Christmas candy. So hey, we still got a couple weeks if you want to donate for this calendar year, for this tax year.
Yeah,
you can donate to the Rev.FM, the StrongBlueLine.org. So we appreciate your donations and helping us do what needs to be done and what we want to get done for the people of Southeast Idaho and officers across the country. Okay, let's honor the officers who were killed in line of duty on this date, December 11th. I have Gary, Sheriff John Kimmy, Sumter County Sheriff's Office, Georgia. December 11th, 1839.
Ooh, okay.
What they say, this was a minute ago?
It was hot minute.
That was a hot minute. There you go. We're all up with this stuff, man. Sheriff John Kimmy was assaulted by a man who was an opposing candidate for sheriff. Well, you thought,
wow.
The man attacked Sheriff Kimmy and struck him down in the face with a Bowie knife, inflicting a Bowie knife. We're going to talk about Bowie knives.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about it. So, but he hit him in the face with a Bowie knife. Despite the injury, Sheriff Kimmy was able to fatally wound the subject during the fight. So apparently he turned the knife on him or something.
Yeah.
There's no more details.
That's interesting.
Afterward, one of the man's friends then chased Sheriff Kimby from the scene and shot him. Sheriff Kimby died of his wounds 2 days later.
Huh.
So poor Sheriff Kimby was in a fight with a guy with a knife, cut him in the face with the knife.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was shot, and he died 2 days later. The man who shot him fled the scene and was never apprehended.
Oh, wow.
Wow, man.
And that was all with a Bowie knife.
A Bowie knife, and then he shot him. The other guy shot him.
Huh.
Crazy.
1839.
Sheriff Kimby served the Sumter County Sheriff's Office for 2 years. 37 years old. That's all we have. That's all that makes. But I want to talk about the Bowie knife.
Okay.
This got me thinking about Jim Bowie and his famous Bowie
Yeah,
knife.
because that's 1839. Did it even exist?
Did it exist? That's a good question. What do you have, Gary?
Oh, this is police officer Tyler Avery Herndon, Mount Holly Police Department out of North Carolina, end of watch December 11th, 2020. So police officer Tyler Herndon and other officers responded to a burglary in progress at a car wash. All right. Must have been the coin machine or...
Yeah, probably right. You're probably right.
Officer Herndon was shot and killed shortly after he arrived. The subject, 25, was shot and wounded by other officers. The suspect was charged with first-degree murder. On July 3rd, 2022, the subject was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. The incident occurred 2 days before Officer Herndon's birthday, and he was 25 at the time. 2 years on tour. Officer Herndon served with the Mount Holly Police Department for the 2 years. He's survived by his parents, sister, grandparents, and a girlfriend.
And how long ago was this? What year was this?
2020.
2020. So this was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's always sad when an officer's killed in line of duty. Obviously, it's always sad, but I think it highlights it more during the holidays because now they just celebrated Thanksgiving without their loved one. This is the fourth one.
Yeah.
Without him. Actually, it would have been the third Thanksgiving without him.
Right.
It's going to be the fourth Christmas without him.
Yeah.
Because he was killed in between. And a lot of things, a lot of officers aren't home for the holidays.
No.
They're working. They're on duty and stuff. So it just, wow. Anyways, thank you for that. So the Bowie knife. So any good Texan knows about the Bowie knife, named for James Bowie, Jim Bowie, who was killed at the Alamo.
Huh.
So if you remember your Texas history, Gary Austin, Stephen F. Austin, the father of Texas. Austin is our capital. Anyways, Jim Bowie was at the Alamo, and he was killed at the Alamo, as was everybody else. That was all the Texians were killed there, and but Jim Bowie was known for his famous knife, Bowie knife. And so when I read this. This was 1839. The Alamo took place in 1836. So it would have been 3 years before that. But I thought, was the Bowie knife that famous in just 3 years after the Alamo? But I discovered something I did not know, which is not surprising. That the Bowie knife was actually made by James Bowie's brother, Rezin. R-E-Z-I-N is his name.
Oh.
So Rezin Bowie made the knife for James Bowie. And it became famous in 1827.
Wow.
How? Not wow, but how, you ask.
Okay.
How, you ask. Did that knife become famous? Now, a Bowie knife, I don't have one in my pocket, but a Bowie knife simply is a large knife. It's usually about 7 to 8 inches. The blade itself, 7 to 8 inches long. And then it has a handle on it, and it has hand guards on it. And the hand guards are for protected. So what you're looking at is a hand-side sword, if you will.
Okay.
Like a sword, but it's a Bowie knife. It's a thick, it's a big knife. Okay, it's a big hunting knife, if you would.
Do you have today. A Bowie knife?
I probably do at home somewhere. I probably have. I may have a knife or two.
Those kind of things.
I may have one or two at home somewhere. Yes. But anyways, how did it become famous? It became famous on September 19th, 1827, at the famous sandbar fight. Sandbar fight? So what's a sandbar fight?
What's a sandbar fight?
Well, a sandbar, you know what a sandbar is in a river. You have a you have a sandbar. It's kind of like an island in a river where Well, there's a sandbar in the middle of the Mississippi River between Louisiana and Alabama.
Okay.
And there was a duel, and James Bowie was going to be in a one-on-one duel with a fight with a knife. So they were going to duel with a knife.
Oh.
So that's the way they settled things. We're talking about honor killings last week.
Yeah.
Well, this was, at least it was a fight. It was an honorable fight to the death, apparently. And but this fight by one-on-one started involving a bunch of other people, and there was a big brawl. And it became known as the Sandbar Fight. Jim Bowie survived that fight, obviously, and he fought with the knife that his brother had made him.
Oh, my goodness.
Hence, it became known as the Bowie knife. So there's where the Bowie knife came from.
I love that.
And it's a
That's
very
good.
interesting
Good
story.
facts.
Yeah, so it was in the Mississippi River. I'm sorry, it was between, I said Alabama. Alabama's not even on the Mississippi River. Between Mississippi and Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
I don't know why I said Alabama, because I'm going to Alabama
Yeah.
in a couple weeks, or in a couple months. That's probably why I was thinking it was on my mind. Anyways, hey, we have a couple interesting stories here that I just pulled off that was interesting to me. This one comes from last month, about a month ago, November 19th. Police released body camera footage of an officer-involved shooting of a man who killed his pregnant wife. So this comes out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The St. Paul, Minnesota Police Department have released body camera footage of a fatal officer-involved shooting of 36-year-old Michael Stowers, a man suspected of killing his pregnant ex-wife. According to CBS News, Stowers was shot by the police near Watson Avenue and Bay Street during the afternoon of Saturday, November 9th. He was riding on a bicycle near a laundromat in the area. Police have since released video of the footage of officer-involved shooting from 3 angles. The body-worn cameras of officers Jaworski, Foy, as well as the footage from a dash cam a patrol vehicle. So we have because of video recordings now, Gary, and all these body cameras, the police are able to have a lot more information to go on with these things. And the reason why this story hit the news is because you have this guy on a bicycle shot and killed by police officers in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. We're like, wow, and you know how anti-police people say, what's going on with this and everything. Video shows Foy driving the police car with Jaworski in the passenger seat, so the two officers were riding together, carrying Jaworski was carrying a long gun. He had a rifle. According to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, Stowers produced a handgun and pointed at the officers. And the still frames of the video also show that's exactly what had happened. The BCA, that is the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. This must be a special bureau that investigates officers involved shootings. Said that Stowers was being sought in connection with the killing of his pregnant ex-wife in St. Paul. So the officers were looking for him. Mm-hmm. Police were acting on a tip that he was at a business in the 1100 block of West 7th Street when they encountered a man who matched his description. So the officers were looking for him. Mm-hmm. The BCA's initial investigation states that the man left the business on a bike and multiple squad cars converged on him as he reached the intersection of Watson and Bay Street. Before the police could confirm his identity, the man, now identified as Stowers, pulled out a handgun and pointed at the police. Stowers was transported via ambulance to Regions Hospital, where he later died. No one else was injured. On Friday, November 15th, SPPD Chief Alex Henry said in a statement, "We are committed to the sanctity and the independent investigation. We are also committed to the transparency of our actions. That's why we are releasing the body-worn cameras to the..." Oh, that's what the well, the BWC is. Yeah, that's body-worn camera. In the car and the footage from the incident, no one wants apprehensions to result in the use of force of any kind. Not using force is always the goal and outcome of the majority of our officers' interactions. We grieve the families impacted, our community, and our officers. We hope that we will work together with the community. We can prevent these outcomes in the future. The fact of the matter is, Gary, when you have somebody that murders his his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend, ex-girlfriend or ex-wife, whatever it was, and runs around with a gun and points. That's not going to be for a safe outcome.
No.
For somebody. Somebody's going to get injured when that happens. Both the officers have been with the department for 10 years, so these guys weren't rookies. They have been placed on critical incident leave. I thought that was good. Instead of saying administrative leave, critical incident leave. They were in a critical incident. They were put on leave, as per protocol for officer-involved shootings. Retired police officer and use of force expert Joe Dutton believes both officers did the right thing, and the newly released body camera footage from the SPPD shows it was a split-second decision. He said, to get two officers to shoot simultaneously at somebody, they both had to see the same thing. The reaction was somebody pointing a gun at them.
Yes.
Damara Sowers, who was 8 to 9 weeks pregnant, was shot and killed on October 19th inside her apartment in St. Paul. Michael Stowers was on parole after spending more than a decade in prison for killing a man back in 2008. Court documents show that he was granted a pass to be at the apartment complex that night. Here's a guy, he had been in prison since 2008 and he was released out of prison for murder.
Man.
And then he's granted a pass.
Yeah.
After Darmo was shot, the witnesses said the man ran south. Police received a call from the man saying that he had been shot. He'd been shot on Acker Street and that the car had been stolen. Documents say that Stowers called Ramsey County Sheriff's Office employee to say that he had just shot someone on Acker Street and he wanted to turn himself in. However, he didn't. So he had just murdered his ex-wife, shot somebody else, called the police, admitted to it, and then didn't turn himself in. Terrible incident. But what I wanted to highlight here is this officer's split-second decision. Here we are, talking about violence and stuff, and officers live in that world when violence happens, who gets called? The police get called.
The police, and it's an unfortunate story, but as I read this, I'm thinking, every criminal, if you're going to commit a crime, you're not all there, but this is very unfortunate because, like you said, article says he killed his ex-wife and then he shot at the one guy, stole his vehicle, said that he wanted to turn himself in. He was calling the police, but in my mind, I'm like, then why would you pull a gun? Is this suicide by cop? Did you know that was going to happen? It's just sad. The whole whole story is just because the police are always going to protect them. When a gun is pointed at the police, they're not going to wait.
And this goes to our whole criminal justice system. The goal, ultimately, Gary, is for justice to be done. Justice is talks about in the Bible and all this kind of stuff. God is a just God. So when somebody does something wrong, Gary, let's say a juvenile, a 13-year-old boy goes to store and steals something. He steals some toys or something. Justice needs to be done. Punishment needs to be there, but punishment is not only punishment for stealing to teach him that that's not good to steal.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some kind of punishment. I'm not saying to throw the kid in jail and never see the light of day again, but there needs to be something severe enough, whatever that punishment is, to make him say it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And then there needs to be a rehabilitation. And, with the 13-year-old, that would probably be left up to the parents. It should be left up to the parents. The parents should correct that behavior. And so he could go on to become a productive citizen in society.
Absolutely.
Some people are just not going to be rehabilitated.
Right.
And this guy was in prison for murder. It didn't say that he was in prison for, involuntary manslaughter. He was in prison for murder, that intentionally or knowingly taking the life of an individual. It's different. It's tragic if somebody goes out and drinks and they unintentionally, they run over and kill somebody. That's tragic. you can't bring that person's life back.
Right.
But that's different from murder.
Yeah.
The intent is different. And we as a society needs to figure out what the punishment is that's going to do the best. But the fact of the matter is some people just need to stay in prison.
Yeah.
They cannot
really do.
operate safely outside of them institutions. It's sad, but when we start letting people out that should not be let out, I'm not saying that it's perfect. Some people are going to slip through the cracks.
Yep.
Some people that maybe should be let out, stay in.
Right.
Some people that maybe should stay in, get let out. But when California just recently opens up their door and just lets all these violent criminals out and just lets stuff happen and just goes on like this, I think we're finally starting to get tired of it, as a society, and we need a correction. And that doesn't mean to throw everybody in prison, don't let anybody out. I mean, there has to be mercy.
Yep. Mercy
and justice, but there needs to be both. We just can't let people walk because we feel bad for them, but we just can't, give everybody the maximum because we want vigilante justice. There needs to be proper justice for these things, and there's not easy answers, but we need to move in that direction.
We do,
and make sure we do that. Okay, so I have another one here. This is we're running out of time, but I'm going to try to get through this one real quick. Suspect shoots Orthodox Jewish man near synagogue and shouts Allah Akbar before firing on the police. This comes out of Chicago, Illinois. C.D. Mohammed, 22 years old, was arrested by the Chicago Police Department on allegations that he shot a 39-year-old man wearing a Jewish kippah, which is a skull cap. Gary, I don't know if you knew that. A Jewish kippah.
No.
That's what's called the kippah, the skull cap.
Okay.
Anyways, so this 22-year-old guy shoots this obviously Orthodox Jew several times in an attack near a synagogue. So you have a Jewish man wearing a kippah near a synagogue. The victim, an Orthodox Jewish man, was unidentified in reports, was treated for non-fatal injuries and discharged the same day. So he was shot several times, but he wasn't really seriously hurt. Thank the Lord for that.
Yeah.
Superintendent Larry Snelling told reporters at a press conference Monday, during the shooting, the offender approached a 39-year-old male and shot the shooter without saying a word. That's interesting, without saying a word. After the victim was taken by ambulance, Abadali, that's the bad guy, reemerged from an alley and fired shots at officers and at responding paramedics. Chicago Deputy Police Kevin Bruno told reporters. Reportedly, the assailant screamed Allah Akbar before opening fire at police. The Jewish United Fund established this claim, stating that the police informed them of this during the meeting, reported to CBS News. So what caught my eye about this, not only was this what we've classified as a hate crime, he attacked him because he was Jewish. He was an Orthodox Jew. That's the reason why he attacked him and shot him. But yet they refused to say this. And the Jewish community are saying, hey, why? It says at the bottom there, it says at the second last paragraph, it says, I'm very disappointed. This comes from the Jewish community. We are very disappointed by this turn of events and strongly encourage Cook County State Attorney's Office to prosecute the offender to the full extent of the law. The Jewish community is always on high alert, and this is just adding to our anxiety, she added. So what's going on here, Gary, is they're refusing, at this time, the Chicago police was refusing to upgrade it because they didn't see it as a hate crime. The guy's a Muslim. He cries Allah Akbar, and he shoots a Jewish outside of a synagogue.
Yeah, it's a hate crime.
Thank you, Gary Austin.
That is a hate crime.
Sometimes common sense must prevail. Now, we've talked about hate crimes before, and I'm not really for hate crimes. Crime is crime.
Yeah.
If you shoot somebody, I don't care if you shoot them because they're black or if they're white, or you just shoot them because you don't like them.
Right.
It's a crime, and it should be the same. Don't get into the heads of people.
Yeah.
Punish the behavior, not their thought.
Yeah. Ooh,
that sounds like George Orwell's 1984. We cannot be punishing people for what they are thinking.
Dr. Tim
Could
Rupp,
you imagine
thank you.
going down that? Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Hey, we're out of time, Gary.
I know it.
Looking forward to that candy next week. It's going to
Here
come.
we go. I'm excited.
Thanks for listening in. And if you have a topic or question you want to address on Cop Talk, please send me an email. You can email suggestions, questions, comments, or complaints to coptalk@therev.fm. That's coptalk@therev.fm. Thought from the good book today. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Thank you for joining us and helping to make the thin blue line a strong blue line.
Cop Talk is presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and sponsored by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Questions and comments are always welcome by email to coptalk@therev.fm. Listen, follow, leave a review, and share this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube. And visit thestrongblueline.org to learn how you can be a supporter. Cop Talk is a Rev FM production, produced and edited by Gary Austin. Thank you for joining us on Cop Talk.